Have you ever imagined being plucked from the earth in the midst of prayer and, in an instant, finding yourself flying across the sky? That's exactly what happened to Paul. A whirlwind of light enveloped him, and before he could understand what was happening, he was already climbing, until his feet touched something unimaginable, ground made of clouds as bright as diamonds. But, was it really possible for someone to visit heaven while they were still alive? And what is up there that human words cannot describe? Yes, it is possible, and Paul experienced it. And there, what he saw surpassed anything his eyes had ever seen. He heard music that was not of this world. Every note seemed to be made of light and perfume. The angels, with shimmering wings, chanted a sound so pure that even the air around them became colored. Paul was completely enveloped in an atmosphere of glory. There was no fear, only peace. The surrounding landscape was alive. Lions with wings chatted happily with silver-feathered peacocks, and huge, serene creatures levitated as if they were dancing in the air. It was as if every being there carried within them an eternal joy. Ahead, a path of light led to a magnificent palace, made of crystal so transparent that it reflected a rainbow inside. Paul knew this place was no ordinary sight. It was a glimpse of heaven, revealed only to those whom God chooses in a special way. As he walked along the shining path, Paul felt that each step revealed something new. Flowers he had never seen opened up just for him, as if they recognized the presence of someone special. The breeze was gentle, almost like a welcoming whisper. Everything in that place spoke without words. It was as if creation itself was singing. In front of the crystal palace, an intense light appeared. It wasn't blinding, but so majestic that the eyes could barely sustain it. In the center of it stood someone Paul immediately recognized. It was Jesus. His countenance shone brighter than the sun, but there was tenderness in every detail of his presence. Jesus didn't speak in sentences, and yet Paul understood every thought that flowed from that encounter. It was a dialogue made up of pure love. Words weren't necessary, because Paul's heart received everything directly: promises, consolation, purpose. Jesus then led him to a river. But it was no ordinary river. The water seemed alive. It had shades of gold, green, blue, and purple, all at the same time. The banks were adorned by a unique tree, which bore 12 different fruits and whose leaves had the power to heal not only the body, but also the soul. The desire to stay there was immense. Paul wanted to live in that reality forever. But something inside him already knew that visit had a time limit. A new swirl of light appeared, now as soft as an embrace. Without pain, without fear, he was taken back to his place of origin. When he returned, Paul was different. He had the sparkle in his eyes of someone who had seen something eternal. The words he used couldn't capture everything he had experienced, but his life became the greatest proof. He didn't just tell what he had seen. He began to live like someone who had already known heaven. After that day, Paul was never the same. Something invisible had changed in him. Even without recounting all the details, the way he spoke, prayed, and lived made it clear. He had touched the eternal. People stopped to listen to him not just because of his words, but because of the silent authority his presence conveyed. When he mentioned heaven, his eyes would glaze over. He spoke of the music that transformed the air, the creatures that overflowed with peace, and the river, where life seemed to spring to life at every moment. But above all, he spoke of Jesus' gaze. A gaze that pierced through everything and reached the depths of the soul, healing wounds that not even time could touch. Paul's message was simple but powerful. There is a place prepared. A place where there are no tears, no pain, and no loneliness. And that place is real. He wasn't talking about a myth or a vague hope. He was talking about something he had seen, experienced, and could never forget. Wherever he went, he sparked hope. Hardened men dreamed again. Distressed women smiled again. Children were enchanted. Not because he was convincing, but because he carried in his chest the certainty of someone who had already walked in the dwellings of the Most High. Over time, Many asked Paul how it was possible to live here on earth after having seen heaven. And he answered calmly, "That's precisely why I live. To let you know that it's worth going on. That there is a purpose. That all this is just the beginning." And so Paul continued his mission, with his feet on the ground, but his heart always turned upwards, to that place he would never stop remembering.